What's going on, everybody? It's Ty from the YouTube channel The Mountain Life. Today I want to show you how to make 3 kokanee salmon lures. They're really simple. All you need to know is the basic knot, which is a doubled snell knot. I'm going to show you how to tie that, and then you can make 3 really easy, really effective kokanee salmon lures. They're my favorite, and I'll show you how to make all 3 of them right now. Let's get started. I'm going to show you how to make first a spinner, something like this. This is a copycat of Max Lure's wedding ring lure, really effective for kokanee salmon. The next lure I'm going to show you how to make utilizes a spin and glow spinner on the front of it. I've also had good success with this, and I think you guys will have a lot of fun picking from the different colors and options available to you with these things. The next thing I'm going to show you how to make is a squid, or a hoochie. These have been around for a long time. They're really effective on kokanee, and again, they come in a host of different colors. And so I'm going to show you how to make all 3 of these things. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how to tie a double snelled setup. And for this, I like to use just like an 8-pound monofilament. Some guys will use the monofilament. Some guys will use the fluorocarbon. Choose whatever you like, but take the line and pass it through what would be the eyelet of the hook and pull enough through. And then you're going to pinch that line up against what would be the shank of the hook. And then with that line pinched up against the shank of the hook, then you start to wrap. Wrap once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. And then after you've wrapped 6 times, take that tag end, and you'll see that I've got a loop there that was made by me pinching the line up against the shank of the hook. Take that tag end, pass it through that loop, and then pull everything tight. And if this was a real hook, this would slide up nicely against the eyelet of the hook, and you can see how we would have a nice snelled setup. And then you take the tag end. I should have left a little bit more, because then you would tie your second hook in. But that's the knot that you need to know, and I'll show you how to make that knot on a real hook next. So the hooks that I use for this, I like the Gamakatsu size 4 red octopus hooks. The style number is 02308. Those have worked well for me. You can choose something else if you'd like, but let's go ahead and we'll thread the line through this hook. Okay, so I've taken about a 3-foot piece of monofilament, and now I'm going to slide this through the eyelet of the hook. And I'm going to pull enough through, because I've got to tie 2 knots with this. So pull anywhere from 6 to 10 inches through there until you learn to get the hang of it and judge it a little bit better. But once you've pulled that through, now pinch that line up against the shank of the hook. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that tag end and I'm going to wrap it around the shank of the hook. So I'm going to wrap it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Now switch hands, pinch your wraps with that index finger and thumb, and now you can see the loop there. Now we take the tag end and we go up through that loop. You should probably wet your knot a little bit and pull it tight. So you can see everything slid up really nicely against the eyelet of the hook, and we still have enough line left over to tie our second one in. And we're going to try to get that to trail about 1 centimeter or so behind the first. So you can see that I've got my first hook already tied in, and I've got this tag end. So let's do the same thing and get our second hook tied up. So I'm going to take this tag end through the eyelet of the hook. You're going to pull the line through, and I want it to trail about that far apart. So I can't start there, I need to start up here, because when I pull the slack through, it'll end up just about right. So again, pinch the line up against the shank of the hook. Take that line now and wrap around the shank of the hook. Wrap once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. And you don't want to overlap on your wraps. Make sure you're wrapping continuously closer towards the eyelet of the hook. Then go ahead and pinch your wraps with your index finger and thumb. You can see that you've got a loop there. Take the tag end, go up through the loop, and pull everything tight. Now, you can see that those are spaced a little far apart, so I should have started a little bit closer on that second knot. So once you've tied that second hook in there, go ahead and you can trim off your tag end. I like to leave at least 1/8 of an inch, if not longer. It's not going to hurt you to leave that little extra bit of line down there. So there's our double hook setup. Fishing for kokanee, this is a great setup, and once you know how to tie this, like I said, you can make a host of different lures and you can fix them when they break, because if you're catching enough fish, sooner or later they're going to break. Okay, so now that we have our double snelled hook set up, tied, I'm going to show you how to make a spinner, something like this. This is a copycat of Max Lure's wedding ring, and for this you're going to need a few supplies. You're going to need some beads. This is a bead kit I got off of Cabela's website. I think they call it their walleye bead kit, but it's got a few different sizes in there so that you can make a tapered setup like this. I think that bead kit cost me about $10, and it's got just hundreds of beads in there, so that'll work well for us. And then you just start threading the smaller diameter beads on first. So I'll do that now. So I've put about 4 beads on there, and then to separate the colors, I've got an all silver bead. You don't need to do this, but again, this is kind of a copycat of the wedding ring lure. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to thread the other color beads on there. So once you've got your beads threaded on, again, the smaller diameter beads go towards each end, the larger diameter beads go towards the middle. Take what's called a clevis. It's this little metal piece, and you're going to need a clevis and a spinner blade. Go ahead and thread that clevis through the spinner blade just like that, and then you're going to take your line and you're going to pass it through those 2 spots on the clevis. So again, I've taken this clevis and I've threaded it through the spinner blade. Now I'm going to take my fishing line and I'm going to go through both spots on that clevis and pull the line through. So there you can see I've got my spinner blade right in front of my beads, and that is how you make the first lure right there. Pretty simple. And then with this end, I would make this leader length anywhere from maybe 8 to 10 inches all the way up to maybe 15 inches. And so we'll do that now. I'm going to cut this, and then what I like to do is I like to tie that other end into a barrel swivel, and then it makes it really easy to switch lures, because on the back of each of my Dodgers I can then clip that barrel swivel right into this swivel, and away I go. I've switched lures really quickly. Okay, so setup number 2, we're going to use a spin and glow. Spin and glows come in a lot of different sizes. They're used a lot in salmon fishing. These are the smaller sizes. I want to say this is like a size 12 or 14. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread a pink bead on there first, and then I'm going to do a silver bead, and then I'm going to do another pink bead. Again, these beads, choose whatever colors you like, mix and match kind of with a spin and glow. But now you're going to take this line, pass it through the back side of the spin and glow, and now you've got essentially another spinner. It looks just a little different, presents a little differently in the water, and sometimes that's all it takes to trigger a strike. So the first 2 lures are both kind of spinners in nature. If I can get that to spin for you. That's kind of what it's going to look like going through the water. That'll cause some vibration, cause some flash, and hopefully the fish can't resist it. And lastly, what I'm going to show you how to make is a squid or a hoochie. And again, we can use our same double hook setup for that. So I got my squids from P-Line. You can buy a bag of 8 for like $3 or $4. They're pretty cheap. There's a lot of good companies out there that'll sell squids. You can buy them from Rocky Mountain Tackle. I like their gear a lot. Christensen's Lakeshore Tackle, P-Line. A lot of different companies out there making squids, but the ones from P-Line are a little bit long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to trim about 1 centimeter or so off the back. so that they end up about that length. That's the length that I like to fish them there. And the ones from P-line, they're not open on the front of the squid, so I'm actually going to cut that so our line can pass through there. Okay, so I've just cut the tip off of that squid so our line can pass through. For this one, you're going to need a couple beads, so I'm going to grab those. So on my squids, you'll see that I like to fish them with one hook kind of in the mid body of the squid, and then one hook completely trailing out the backside. That's worked really well for me. I end up tipping that trailing hook with a little bit of bait, and a lot of states allow you to tip that hook with corn. A lot of guys will put scented corn on there. Whatever you can tip with legally in your state will help your chances. So now again, I've got this double hook set up. I've got a couple beads, and I'll show you why I need to put that on there in a minute, but ultimately it comes down to getting our hooks where we want them in this squid. Again, we want one in the mid body, and we want one hanging just out the back. So I've put about 4 beads on there. Now I'm going to take my line and I'm going to pass it up through this end of the squid. So there you can see I've threaded that line through the body of the squid, and we've got one hook that lands right towards the mid body, and then we've got that hook that trails out the back side. And if we didn't put the beads in there, then this hook would ride all the way up until it was stopped by the front of this squid. So in order to get those hooks where we want them, we put the beads on there to get the spacing right. And then from here, what you can do is you can put a bead on the front side of that squid, you know, something similar to what I've done there. I've just put a glow-in-the-dark bead on the front side of that squid. Or what some people will do is they'll put a bead or two, and then they'll actually put a spinner blade in front of this squid. So they actually have a spinner blade spinning around there, causing some vibration in the water, and that's a nice little add-on as well. And I've shown you how to do that already on these spinners. You just take your clevis, you take your spinner blade, and you thread the line through, and you'd run that spinner blade right in front of this squid. One last little add-on that I'll make to all of these lures is I've got some head cement here for tying flies. I take that head cement and I dab a little bit on each knot, and what that will do is that will act as a barrier against the teeth of the fish, and it'll help these lures last a little bit longer for you. So there you have it. Those are 3 of my favorite setups for kokanee salmon. You can mix and match colors, you can get creative with this stuff, and it's a lot of fun. So if you thought this video was helpful in any way, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.